There are moments in life when the pressure becomes unbearable. When the weight on your chest feels so heavy that even breathing seems like effort. And strangely, it is often in that exact moment, when you think you cannot survive another day, that transformation becomes possible. Have you ever reached that breaking point? Not just frustration. Not just stress. I mean the kind of exhaustion where you wake up and whisper to yourself, I can't keep doing this. I'm done. I have nothing left. Maybe you're fighting to provide for your family. Maybe you're building something from nothing, a business, a dream, a future. Maybe you've been pushing forward for months, or years, and nothing seems to move. And then the voice comes. Stop. Let it go. This isn't for you. You're not meant for this. But today, I want to share something that might shift the way you see your struggle. There's a word in Japan, a powerful word. A word that carried people through devastation. A mindset that helped a broken nation rise from ashes and rebuild itself. A word that turns suffering into fuel. That word is Ganbaru. And before you dismiss this as just another inspirational phrase or foreign philosophy, stay with me for a moment. Let me tell you about a young man. A simple 19-year-old living in rural Japan shortly after World War II. He had no wealth. Very little food. No connections. No clear future. What he did have was something many people abandon the moment life becomes uncomfortable. And that one thing changed the direction of his life. But before we continue, if this message speaks to you, consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and sharing in the comments. What is the challenge right now that's testing your limits? What's pushing you toward giving up? I read as many comments as I can, and I want you to know something important. You are not fighting alone. Now, let's continue. Chapter 1, Kenji, Japan, 1947. 2 years after the war ended. The country was shattered. Entire cities reduced to debris. The economy collapsed. Millions gone. Those who survived faced hunger and uncertainty every single day. In a quiet countryside village lived a 19-year-old named Kenji. No spotlight. No privilege. Just responsibility. He lived with his mother, his 2 younger brothers, and his elderly grandmother. His father had fallen in the war. And overnight, Kenji became the head of the household. But how do you lead when you have nothing to lead with? No money. No stable work. No safety net. Each morning he woke up to an empty stomach, and an even heavier heart. He saw his mother wipe away tears when she thought no one noticed. He heard his little brothers ask for food he couldn't provide. He felt the silent pressure of being the man of the house without the tools to be one. And every day, a quiet question echoed inside him, how much longer can I endure this? And what hurt him most wasn't the hunger. It was the feeling of failure. I'm supposed to protect them, he would think. I should be strong enough. Why am I not enough? Kenji wasn't lazy. He woke before sunrise. He worked the land until his back burned. He accepted any extra labor he could find. But effort didn't guarantee results. And reality was merciless. Slowly, hope began to thin out. Then came the morning that almost broke him. The air was sharp with cold. Frost clung to the ground as he walked to a nearby farm, hoping, again, for work. When he arrived, the owner barely looked at him. There's nothing here for you, the man said flatly. I can barely afford the workers I already have. No anger. No cruelty. Just truth. Kenji walked home with nothing in his hands, and even less in his heart. He sat at the entrance of his small house, on the hard dirt floor. Above him, the sky stretched gray and indifferent. And he cried. Not the quiet tears of frustration, but the kind that come when something inside you starts collapsing. I can't do this anymore, he whispered. I tried. I really tried. But it's not enough. It will never be enough. He sat there, lost inside his own defeat. That's when he noticed someone standing nearby. An older man. Simple clothing. Rough, weathered hands. The kind of hands shaped by years of labor. The man stopped in front of him. Is everything all right, young man? Kenji quickly wiped his face. Yes, sir. I'm fine. Just tired. The old man studied him for a moment. A faint smile appeared, the kind of smile that carries experience. Tired, he said softly. Or discouraged? Kenji said nothing. After a pause, the man asked, Are you searching for work? Yes, but no one is hiring. I am. Kenji looked up sharply. Hope and caution battled in his eyes. You are? Doing what? I run a small carpentry workshop in the next town, the man replied. It's nothing impressive. I can't pay much. But it's honest work. And there will be food. Something flickered inside Kenji. A small spark. Fragile, but alive. I accept, he said immediately. I'll do anything. The old man extended his hand. My name is Tida. Be there tomorrow. The next morning, Kenji arrived before sunrise. The workshop was modest, aged wooden beams, worn tools, the steady scent of fresh-cut timber filling the air. Tida was already working in silence. Good morning, Mr. Tida. Good morning, Kenji. Ready? Yes, sir. And just like that, a new chapter began. The first days were painful. Kenji knew nothing about carpentry. His palms tore open. His arms ached deep into the night. But he never complained. He needed this. Not just for money, but for dignity. Tida watched him quietly. Observing. Measuring. Saying little. After a week, as they sat drinking simple tea at the end of a long day, Tida finally spoke. Kenji, do you know what Ganbaru means? Kenji shook his head. No, sir. Tida placed his cup down carefully. It's an old word, he said. It means to endure. To persist. To keep giving your best, even when the outcome is uncertain. Even when everything feels impossible. He paused. Ganbaru is not about winning quickly. It's about refusing to collapse. Kenji listened carefully, but the meaning hadn't fully settled inside him yet. Tida continued quietly. After the war, many people were left with nothing. I was one of them. My house was gone. My family, gone. My work, gone. I stood in the middle of ruins with empty hands. Kenji looked at him, surprised. He had never imagined this calm old man had once lost so much. But I made a decision, Tida said. I chose to Ganbaru. I chose to persist. Not in grand ways. Just one day at a time. One plank at a time. One tool at a time. He gestured around the small workshop. It may not look impressive. But it is mine. And I built it piece by piece. Kenji hesitated. But what do you do, when you feel like you truly can't continue? Tida smiled gently. That, he said, is precisely when Ganbaru matters most. Growth is born in discomfort, Kenji. Not in comfort. Strength is shaped by resistance, not ease. Chapter 2, the shift understanding didn't arrive like lightning. It came slowly. Quietly. Some mornings Kenji woke up exhausted, muscles stiff, palms still sore. But instead of focusing on the pain, he remembered the word. Ganbaru. Some days the work felt repetitive and dull. The same cuts. The same sanding. The same measurements. Still, Ganbaru. Other days he felt the urge to quit, to return home and escape the pressure. But again, Ganbaru. And something subtle began to change. His hands stopped bleeding and hardened with callus. His movements became steadier. He started to understand the grain of wood, how it bends, how it resists, how it demands patience. He wasn't just building furniture. He was rebuilding himself. Most importantly, belief returned. Not blind optimism. Not empty hope. But confidence earned through effort. Day by day. Mistake by mistake. Tida watched quietly, a small approving smile often forming on his face. You're not only learning carpentry, he told him one evening. You're learning discipline. You're learning who you are. Then came the real test. 6 months later, Tida fell ill. It wasn't life-threatening, but he needed complete rest for several weeks. One evening he called Kenji over. The shop will be yours for now, he said calmly. Can you handle it? Fear rushed back instantly. Sir, I don't know if I'm ready. Tida looked at him firmly. I would not give you this responsibility if I didn't trust you. And just like that, Kenji stood alone. Now he was responsible for everything. Customers, deadlines, quality, reputation. The weight was enormous. Soon after, a major order arrived. A large, intricate dining table for an important client. Complex design. High expectations. Kenji poured himself into the work. He worked late into the night. He made errors. He corrected them. He made new ones. He started again. Fatigue clouded his focus. One morning, staring at the half-finished table, doubt crept back in. I'm going to fail, he thought. I'll disappoint Mr. Tida. I'll lose this client. I'll ruin everything. The old fear returned, louder than before. He sank to the floor, head lowered. For a moment, silence. Then something surfaced in his mind. Tida's voice. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just steady. Ganbaru. One plank at a time. One correction at a time. One breath at a time. It is in pain that we grow, Kenji. The words echoed in his mind. He inhaled deeply. Slow. Steady. Then he stood up. One more adjustment. One more correction. One more attempt. He kept working. Hours turned into days. And eventually, the table was complete. It wasn't flawless. There were tiny imperfections only he would ever notice. But it was crafted with care. With discipline. With heart. With Ganbaru. When the customer arrived, Kenji felt his pulse racing. The man walked around the table slowly. He ran his palm across the surface, pressed against its frame, examined every joint. Silence filled the workshop. Then the man smiled. "This is exceptional work," he said. "Who made this?" Kenji hesitated slightly. "I did, sir." "You?" the customer replied, surprised. "You're young, but this is the work of a true craftsman. I will recommend you to others." When the door closed behind the client, Kenji remained standing in the quiet workshop. And once again, he cried. But these were not tears of defeat. They were tears of earned victory. When Tita returned, fully recovered, he saw the finished table, and the new confidence in Kenji's posture. "You did it," Tita said. "I did," Kenji replied softly. "Because of you. Because of Ganbaru." Tita placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "No," he said gently. "Because of you. I only pointed to the path. You were the one who chose to walk it." Over time, the workshop expanded. Orders increased. Income improved. Kenji was able to bring more food home. His mother worried less. His brothers smiled more. His grandmother rested easier. He never became wealthy. But he gained something far more valuable: self-respect, purpose, and unshakable confidence. He now knew that whatever came next, he could endure it. Because he understood Ganbaru. Chapter 3, The Psychology Behind Persistence. You might be thinking, that's a powerful story, but does this actually apply to real life? Yes. And research supports it. Psychologist Carol Dweck introduced the concept of the growth mindset, the belief that abilities can be developed through effort, strategy, and learning. People who adopt this mindset don't see struggle as proof of inadequacy. They see it as training. Studies show that when we persist through difficulty, instead of avoiding it, the brain forms new neural pathways. This process, known as neuroplasticity, literally strengthens our capacity to handle future challenges. In simple terms, discomfort reshapes you. Effort rewires you. Struggle upgrades you. But here's the important distinction: not all persistence is intelligent. Some people repeat the same mistake again and again without adjusting. That's not resilience, that's rigidity. Ganbaru is different. It is disciplined endurance. It is flexible strength. It is the decision to continue, while learning and adapting. It is moving forward, with awareness. And most importantly, it requires remembering your reason. Your why. Chapter 4, Your Ganbaru Moment. Now I want you to pause. Think about your own life. Where are you sitting right now? At what half-finished table are you staring, convinced you won't succeed? Is it your business? Your career? Your studies? Your responsibilities? Your dream? Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you feel unseen. Maybe you're one rejection away from quitting. But what if this exact moment, is your turning point? What if the pain you're feeling is not a signal to stop, but a signal to grow? Ganbaru doesn't promise instant success. It promises transformation. One step at a time. One correction at a time. One brave decision at a time. So take a breath. Stand up. And continue. Not perfectly, but honestly. With effort. With discipline. With heart. Because sometimes the only difference between defeat and victory is one more attempt at it. So now let me ask you something honestly. What is your battle at this moment? Are you trying to provide for your family while everything feels unstable? Are you building a business that hasn't yet paid off? Preparing for a new career while doubting yourself every night? Or maybe you're simply trying to make it through the month. And it's heavy. Some mornings you wake up already tired. Some nights you stare at the ceiling wondering how long you can keep this up. There are days when the numbers don't make sense. When effort brings no visible reward. When support is nowhere to be found. And quitting feels reasonable. But remember Kenji. A 19-year-old in a broken country, starting with nothing. No money. No certainty. No guarantees. What he understood changed everything. Pain is not proof that you should stop. Pain is evidence that you are in the process. Growth has never been comfortable. Transformation has never been easy. The moment you stop running from difficulty and begin using it as fuel, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. You become the author of your response. That is Ganbaru. It is not about being fearless. It is not about never feeling exhausted or discouraged. It is about feeling all of it, and continuing anyway. It is waking up after a terrible day and choosing to try again. It is taking one more step when your confidence is shaking. It is trusting that the effort is shaping you, even when you can't yet see the reward. And here is the truth, the payoff rarely arrives the way you expect. It rarely arrives on your timeline. But it is always worth it. Because the person you become through endurance is more valuable than the result itself. Kenji didn't become wealthy. He didn't become famous. But he protected his family. He built something honest. He became a man of character. That was his legacy. Now ask yourself, what will yours be? Will you be remembered as someone who stepped back when things became uncomfortable? Or as someone who, despite doubt and fear, kept moving forward? And here is something most people don't admit about success. Kenji thought about quitting before he met Tida. Almost every day. And after he met Tida? Still almost every day. The urge to give up never magically disappears. The difference is this, you learn to move forward even when it's there. Success is not the absence of fear. It is action taken in the presence of fear. Fulfillment is not the absence of pain. It is the ability to convert pain into power. Purpose is not waiting for the perfect conditions. It is building meaning with what you have right now. So when you reach your limit, when everything feels impossible, when you think you cannot endure another day, remember Ganbaru. Remember Kenji, a simple young man with no advantages, but with one decision no one could take from him, to continue. And sometimes, continuing is the bravest victory of all. So let me ask you something real. What are you carrying right now? Are you trying to provide stability for your family while everything feels uncertain? Are you pouring energy into a business that hasn't paid off yet? Preparing for a career shift while doubting whether you're capable? Or maybe you're simply trying to survive another month. And it's exhausting. There are mornings when you wake up already defeated. Days when the numbers don't make sense. When effort doesn't translate into results. When nobody seems to believe in you. And quitting starts to feel logical. But think about Kenji. 19 years old. Post-war devastation. No money. No advantages. No guarantees. Nothing, except one decision. He realized something most people resist accepting. Pain is not a detour. It's part of the road. There is no progress without discomfort. No evolution without resistance. No rebuilding without pressure. The moment you stop seeing pain as punishment, and start seeing it as preparation, your role changes. You are no longer the victim of the story. You become the one writing it. That is Ganbaru. It is not about being extraordinary. It is not about never feeling doubt, fatigue, or fear. It is about feeling all of that, and continuing anyway. It's getting up after a terrible day and choosing not to surrender. It's taking another step when your confidence is trembling. It's trusting that even unseen effort is shaping you into someone stronger. And here's the deeper truth, the reward rarely arrives how you picture it. It rarely comes on your preferred timeline. But it is always valuable. Because the version of you that emerges from endurance is more important than any external result. Kenji never became wealthy. He never became famous. But he protected his family. He built something honest with his own hands. He became a man of integrity. That was his success. Now ask yourself, what kind of legacy are you building? Will you be remembered as someone who retreated at the first sign of hardship? Or as someone who stayed in the fight, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it was uncertain? And here is something people rarely admit. Before meeting Tida, Kenji thought about quitting almost every single day. After meeting Tida, he still thought about quitting almost every single day. The difference wasn't that the temptation disappeared. The difference was that he learned to move forward despite it. That's the truth about achievement, fulfillment, and purpose. It's not about eliminating fear. It's about acting while fear is present. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about converting pain into power. It's not about waiting for perfect timing. It's about maximizing the imperfect moment you have. So when you feel stretched beyond your limits, when everything looks impossible, when you believe you cannot endure one more day, remember Ganbaru. Remember Kenji, a young man with no resources, but with something no one could strip away from him, the decision to continue. And sometimes, that decision is everything, the decision not to quit. That single decision altered everything. And yours can too. Maybe not overnight. Maybe not on your schedule. But your life will shift the moment you choose to persist. The moment you decide that pain will train you instead of stop you. The moment you refuse to let temporary struggle define a permanent outcome. Because in the end, success is not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you rise, even when rising feels exhausting. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to join this community. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue growing together. My goal is simple, to bring you ideas, stories, and insights that strengthen your mindset. If this video meant something to you, leave a like. And in the comments, write one word, Ganbaru. When you type it, you're not just leaving a comment. You're making a quiet promise to yourself. A promise that you won't surrender easily. A promise that you will continue. And if you're interested in exploring more content about psychology, philosophy, and personal growth, I've created another channel dedicated to those deeper conversations. You'll find the link in the description. If you've stayed until this moment, I truly appreciate your time and attention. Remember this, your story is still unfolding. This chapter is not the end. And it will not conclude with you giving up. Keep going. I'll see you in the next video.